Joining me in studio is OTT owner, Gerry Humperdink. Gerry, how are you this morning?
I'm fine, how are you?
Not too bad. So, first of all, I must ask you, how did you first get involved in professional wrestling?
Well, I suppose from an early age, I loved wrestling, you know, from Hulk Hogan and Macho Man, and it was my grandfather got me into it. He was a big fan.
Mm-hmm.
I think for him, he kind of believed in that it was real.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I remember sitting there, more specifically, it would have been, say, Royal Rumble 98, he would be sitting down on his couch, he'd have his cup of tea, go on, hit him. It's just the way he went on about it. So that would have been my earliest memory of wrestling, would be sitting down with my granddad watching it. But I remember just casually on the internet one day, you know, it was still fairly new to going on different websites, and there was no Facebook or anything then, and I just seen this advertisement for a wrestling school. I said, oh, this has to be in England, and then I said it was in Dublin. I was like, oh, it's going to be miles away, and it was about 30 seconds away from my house. And it was the first IWW gym that they had in North Strand,
mm-hmm.
and it was underneath railway tracks in this kind of dingy little place, but my God, to me it looked like heaven.
Mm-hmm.
The first time I walked in, it was just like, holy crap, this is a wrestling ring.
Mm-hmm.
I can actually get in this
mm-hmm.
and become a wrestler. Now, obviously, we know I didn't become a wrestler. I did train for about 2 years. I did okay, you know. I wouldn't say I was brilliant. I never got a match
mm-hmm.
officially. But what happened one day, we had a trainer from England over, and you know, I trained with him for a couple of weeks. Everything was fine, but there was just a slight miscalculation, and I was dropped on my knee in one of the training sessions. It wasn't a huge amount of damage done. I didn't need an operation. I think there was a lot of fluid on it, so I was out for a little while. But when I came back, we had changed gyms, and I just got in the ring one day. Somebody once said, oh, can I try a stall and suplex? I was a lot lighter then, so I was like, yeah, no problem. And whatever happened when I was just upside down for the stall, I just said, no, put me down. Just put me down, and I never trained again. So to me, it was very disheartening. But to get into the role that I do now, I find it just as rewarding.
There you go.
Because I can be a character that I would not normally be, somebody different.
Absolutely. So you've been involved with the American Wrestling Roadshow and No Limits Wrestling over the years before OTT was established. And what's it been like being involved with both organisations, especially post your injury, and this time working behind the scenes?
You know, first and foremost, I wanted to be a wrestler. So I had to take some time to realise, okay, and that's not going to happen. Let's see what I can do now. So I became a ref. So I worked on AWR and NLW, and I worked a lot of shows for them. We did tours up and down the country with AWR, and some of the biggest names came over for the shows, and
mm-hmm.
I got to see everything firsthand. So to be able to see what's happening backstage, but then you go out and it's a completely different thing. You get to see every single story played out in the ring.
Mm-hmm.
As a referee, that was absolutely amazing. And the OTT referee, Niall Fox, he'll tell you as well. It's just, there's nothing like... You can sit in the front row and it's amazing, but there's nothing like being in the ring and actually seeing it flow and go from start to finish. It was just something about being a ref that was brilliant. But I got an opportunity a couple of years ago in now a defunct organisation called CPW, Celtic Pro Wrestling. I was coming in as a ref, and I said, actually, I want to try something different. I want to be somebody different. And the guy there, trainer there, was Blake Norton, and he said, okay, well, give me something to work with, and we go from there. I says, well, I want to be Jerry Soul. That's who I want to be. And it was him that came up with Jerry Soul's moniker, was the man to know.
Okay.
So I came in as this guy wearing a suit and handing out business cards, and I just went from then. And it kind of spiraled from there that I worked pretty much every show as Jerry Soul, and unfortunately, you know, CPW's not around anymore, but I've gone from CPW onto even bigger and better things, and to do Gerry Humperdink in OTT, there's nothing like it. There's literally nothing like it. You step in that ring and, you know, I've got grey hair, I've got a grey beard, but it's amazing to step in front of a crowd that's that rabid, that's that like passionate about wrestling, and there is nothing like it. Really.
Now, it's my understanding that you're also a manager as well as a referee when you're on your AWR days and No Limits Wrestling days. Is that true? And if so, what type of personas did you have?
Basically, there's been a couple of kind of different variations of Gerry Soul and leading on to Gerry Humperdink. I started off as a ref at NLW, and I loved every minute of that. But then I kind of, I said, well, you know, I'm kind of changing up now. I want to be a manager. So the guys brought me in as a manager in NLW. Unfortunately, I never got to manage for AWR, but, you know, that's, you know, I like OTT now. But
there you go.
When it came to NLW, I did Gerry Soul, but I also did something I haven't done in a long time, which was Father Soul. So I would go, and you know, when Father Soul was there, he was never a good guy. You know, he was never a face. It was just simply, you're all sinners. You all have to be punished. Here's my guy who's going to punish you all.
Oh, okay.
And I was put with Omen, and you know, it was a perfect fit for a priest and a demon, you know. And I wasn't a very nice priest, I really wasn't.
No,
but
wasn't.
I loved the hell out of doing Father Soul, because there was just something about doing that character that you kind of let your hair down, be something completely that I'm obviously not a priest, but it was just something really interesting. So I do miss doing that character, but you know, I do like Mr. Humperdinck.
Well, as you said, now you're now part of OTT as their storyline owner, Gerry Humperdink. You mentioned how it developed from Gerry Soul, the idea of it coming from Gerry Soul onto Gerry Humperdink now. But what else do you feel did the character come from, or what else do you feel has contributed to its persona?
When it came to doing Gerry Humperdink, obviously I talked to, we'll say, the board of OTT. You know, we'll talk to
the board of OTT.
We'll try and keep it a little bit kayfabe.
Okay.
I talked to the board of OTT, and they said, you know, I have an idea for a character. And I said, okay. I said, do you want me to do Gerry Soul? He said, no, it's something different. He said, you know, you like dressing up, and I do a lot of costumes and cosplays and things like that. And he says, how about you become the owner of OTT? And I said, okay. I said, well, I'm going to have to think about this. Obviously, I was never going to be a Vince McMahon, because Vince McMahon is like the ultimate badass owner. And Gerry Humperdink is not that. He's a crowd pleaser. He's a guy that goes out and gets the cheers. It's almost Mick Foley-esque that he gets a cheap pop.
Yeah.
That I've got this guy coming. Yay! You know, so I was never going to be Vince McMahon. But, I you know, there are periods in time when you've had GMs on Raw and different kind of authority figures, and they have been good guys, and they're there to please the crowd. And I've kind of looked at that, even to managers to a certain extent. You know, Paul Bearer, it's a completely different type of character than I do, but he was larger than life, and I tried to put that into what I do. But it just kind of flowed from Gerry Soul to somebody who went out and talked in front of a crowd, to being this authority figure with the grey beard and the grey hair and the nice suit and walking out to Back in Black. So it was a number of different factors. You know, I was given the idea of this owner, and I had to just kind of take my ball and run, and I did. And cool. I like to think it's popular.
Absolutely. Of course, OTT is celebrating its second anniversary this month with its biggest show to date in WrestleCon on October 28th and 29th. What do you feel has been the reasons for OTT's rise in the past 2 years?
You know, when OTT first started, I was at the very first show, and to try and pinpoint exactly that one thing that makes OTT amazing, you can't, because there's not just one thing, there's many different things. There's the type of venue that we do. It's a perfect kind of venue where you can see it from all angles. You've got the guys backstage, and I'm not just talking about the guys that run it, because they do a fantastic job. The advertisements, the promos, the videos. You look at anything, and it's either really, really well shot or just absolutely hilarious. And I look at those videos and I go, that has contributed a huge amount to the success. But then you've got the guys that get out there and go into that ring, and they're some of the best wrestlers in the world. Like, there is no doubt that we have the best guys in the world. And, you know, if it's WWE legends or the biggest guys in the circuit, we have the best. And it really is as simple as that. And that's why people come back each and every one. And that's why we have the biggest crowds that Ireland, anyway, has ever seen. to go from doing shows of say 90, maybe 100, 150 people to going 500 and 600 people. It's a huge achievement for OTT, and it's only going to get bigger and better. And from not like, okay, I'm the owner of OTT, so I know things, but seeing what's happening now and knowing what's going to happen, like people really have no idea what's coming, and it's just going to be out of this world. Absolutely.
So I'm going to put you in the spot here and ask you what you feel has been the highlight of Gerry Humperdink's character at OTT.
For me, getting to go out there each and every month and chat with the crowd and give them basically what they want is a big thing for me. But for me, it was two kind of matches in particular. And it was when Rhino faced Logan Bryce.
Okay.
And basically I had put my ownership on the line in that match. And Rhino came out on top. But the big one for me was Sir Paul Tracy versus Mr. Anderson Kennedy, which I don't know which we call him really. And it was like me versus my son. Mm-hmm. And it was built up really well. The videos were fantastic. I was more nervous, I think, going out to that match than I have been in the previous 14 years doing this. And it was just, the crowd was absolutely just off the wall. Mm-hmm. Absolutely, you know yourself, OTT crowd is absolutely insane. But that particular night, my ownership was on the line. People are like, God,
what's going to happen?
What's going to happen? Is Gerry gone? Is William gone? And of course, we got the win in the end. And just standing in the middle of that ring when the crowd are chanting, Gerry. I'm not a big mark for myself. I try to make sure that I improve myself with each and every time I go out there.
Yeah.
But to have that happen, for me, it was just like, wow.
It's pretty cool.
Thank you so much. It was amazing.
That's pretty cool. So, as well as OTT, you're also involved with the Lobos Wrestling parties with Rick, Scott and Jades. What's it been like to be involved with that as well?
I've been there pretty much from the beginning. I was the guy, as soon as you walk in the door, I take your ticket or you pay me. And been able to go from where we were in Captain America's, which was a fantastic venue, to go to where we are now, which is the Woolshed. There has been no comparison between the two. Like, there were two great venues, but the Woolshed has been amazing. But to be there each and every time and just see the passion and love that people have for wrestling. Some people will say, "Oh, what do you like? Do you like football?" Or no, I like wrestling. I like wrestling. What do you mean you like wrestling? That's all fake. The whole people saying it's fake. We know it's scripted. We know it's kind of choreographed, but there's nothing fake about it. And I know firsthand. I've been hit by chairs and I've been slammed and I've been this and that in the ring. It does hurt. It absolutely does hurt. And I absolutely commend the guys to go out there each and every month and do that. So when you go to a low blows night and you've got a couple of hundred people screaming at the screens, that it's real to them. And it's a passion for them, and I just love seeing that, and I love being there. And every now and then, I'll get involved with certain things on the night, so I might be on the mic, and I'll give out to them, and I'll say, "Oh, gobshites," and they'll just laugh at me. But the atmosphere is always fantastic at a Low Blows event, and it just keeps getting better and better. WrestleMania is always the night.
Yeah.
The other events that we do, Survivor Series, SummerSlam, Royal, are always great. Yeah. But for me, it always has to be WrestleMania.
It'll be interesting to see what happens at Survivor Series, especially now with the whole Raw versus SmackDown thing. At least the challenge been laid down.
The challenge laid down, I was looking at it the other night, and I was like, whoa, I said, this will probably be the biggest Survivor Series in the last 10, 15 years.
Yeah, and it's ironic because it has 3 different matches. So it could go 1-1 to the final match or something.
Absolutely,
like that. So
that's
what makes it exciting.
I think I'm more so looking forward to the women's match than I am the other two, because we see those guys wrestle all the time, but to see a 5-on-5 women's match is going to be something special now. And with the depth that the roster, or the female roster, has, it's going to be absolutely
especially
amazing.
On SmackDown. Like we were talking about, like all the time on the show, saying SmackDown is so much better than Raw. What's going on? Like
it has been amazing, absolutely amazing.
So, out of all the Low Blows parties you've attended, which one do you feel has been the best one, and why?
I like the original one that we did, because I was, as I say, I was there. I was on the door, but then I got to watch the event. I got to sit down and watch it. You get your wings and your chips, and it was great. But for me, it was probably Mania 30.
Okay.
And the reason I say that is that the crowd were absolutely insane for the night. And then it comes to that fateful match. And it's Lesnar versus Taker.
Yeah.
And I'm standing at the bottom of, I'm standing right in front of this 30-foot screen. And Lesnar picks him up, F5s him. 1, 2, nobody's even looking at the screen. Everyone's like, oh, he's going to kick out. And then you get that 3. And I just stood there. The entire place, I've never heard this bullshit so quiet. It just went like deathly quiet. And I looked at the screen and there was only one thing I could do, and I just went. They couldn't have done it any better.
Yeah.
And to me, that was the ultimate one that we've done. You know, I've done every one for the last 5 years, and that was the ultimate night.
All that match in particular, like as
that match in particular, but that night, you know, you end it with Daniel Bryan winning the title, and the crowd going absolutely insane again. But that one moment, that is what made it so amazing for me. Was the fact that we've done these nights and they've been absolutely amazing, but to have a moment like that, whereas every single person, you know, 500-600 people, just stop, look at the screen, and just be quiet. And even the staff, they're like, what's going on? Yeah. Some of them don't necessarily have a clue what wrestling is about, and they're going, wow, what the hell just happened?
I know, but they notice that there's something's wrong here. Like, what
believe me, especially on a Lobos night, if the place goes quiet, you're like, oh, something wrong. Yeah. Something seriously wrong. And that moment for me will always stand out as the moment.
Yeah. That's pretty cool. So, as a fan now yourself, you mentioned your grandfather was fans of like the likes of while watching the Royal Rumble in '98. But as a fan yourself, who were your favorite wrestlers growing up, and even right now?
Growing up, I always, you know, when I was a kid, you know, you'd always root for the good guys. You know, so it would always be like Hulk Hogan, Macho Man, Ultimate Warrior, things like that. But as I grew older, I started to I would go away from what my grandfather liked and go to what I liked. So, you know, The Undertaker was a big one for me, Shawn Michaels. And Shawn Michaels kind of filtered back and forth between good and bad so much. But for me, it will always be the ultimate. There will be nobody better than him. It'll be Stone Cold Steve Austin. There is nobody. For me, there's nobody better than Stone Cold Steve Austin. You know, you can have Cena winning his 15th or 16th or 27th title, whatever the hell he's going to be winning. And Cena has been amazing for the past 15 years, but he's not Stone Cold. Stone Cold did what he did in 3 or 4 years, and Cena hasn't even. Cena won't achieve that in 15 more years. Yeah, like Cena is one of the biggest, and he will be one of the biggest of all time. Yeah, but he won't be Stone Cold. Yeah, Hulk Hogan won't be Stone Cold. You know, people today now. You know, he's been getting a lot of stick lately, but I really like Seth Rollins. He really is fantastic. You know, Finn Balor. You know, we kind of you have to go with the hometown guy. You know, Becky Lynch. Yeah, has been phenomenal. On a roll, absolutely phenomenal. Dean Ambrose, absolutely one of my favourites. But right now, I think out of everyone, it's got to be Styles. AJ Styles just been fantastic for somebody who's been around for so long. Yeah, to be still competing at that level is just been. It's been a highlight. It's so strange because I remember watching a video of him when he beat Jeff Jarrett for the NWA title years and years ago. He was only 3 years in the wrestling industry. Now you look at him like, God almighty, he's no more experience than him. It seems like, wow, look at him now, and he's won all the world titles there is now. So he literally has won everything there is to win. Yeah, you know, and he's still continuing to compete at a level that most other guys can't get to. Yeah, he's the only person in history to win NWA, TNA, New Japan, and WWE titles. No one's ever done that. He just needs the Universal now. That's it. There you go. So you've been involved in the wrestling industry for so long. Who would you consider your best friends in the industry? You know, I came up with a lot of people, and unfortunately, a lot of people have now left wrestling, and I haven't seen or spoken to them in years. I've got to say, Luther Ward, he's been somebody I've been around with since day one. I stepped into that training centre 14 years ago, and he was there. You know, Jamie Coleman, who is my son, per se. Him and Joe have always looked after me. We've been on the road a good few times. I would do anything for either of them, absolutely. A guy who hasn't been around for a while, but he seems to be trying to get back into it now, is a guy called Vic Viper. He hasn't been seen in a while because of shoulder issues that he's had. He's had to get surgery, and he was told he'd be out for anywhere from a year to a year and a half, and after about 6-7 months he got back in the ring.
Yeah,
so
he was in the Celtic Rumble just recently.
That's right, yeah. So it's fantastic to see him back. He's one of my best friends, and I would have liked to have worked with him more. I did work with him for a little bit, not enough in my opinion, but I definitely would like to work with him. I'd love to see him on OTT, whether that happens or not, if all the planets align and things like that, I'd love to see that. But you never say never about these things.
Absolutely. So going back to being a fan, what would you say be your favourite wrestling matches, not just in general but also in OTT?
You look at anything like outside of OTT. You look at wrestling in WWE and things like that. It for me, it's got to be the third time Austin and Rock faced each other at Mania, and it was the last time as well, WrestleMania 19. For me, it just flowed from start to finish, and it didn't matter who won. To me, it didn't matter who won. Not a lot of people knew at the time that was going to be his last match, Austin's last match, and it was just from start to finish. It was just a masterpiece, absolutely brilliant. So for me, that would be one of my favourite matches. Inside OTT, so many.
I know.
Literally every single night is a show stealer for OTT. It's like anytime you see Paul Tracy going out there, he's a guy that I'm going up against. But my God, he should be in a bigger level than he is. He should have gotten that opportunity to go to WWE or to wrestle in Japan. He has wrestled in Japan, but he's, in my opinion, not enough. He needs to be at a bigger level than he is. Like, to be in OTT, it's a privilege to work with Paul Tracy. It really is. I know we have our differences in OTT, but it really is. You look at Ryan Smile and Marty Scurll, and it's just, that's for me in 2 weeks. That's the match for me.
I can't wait for that match.
It's going to be Marty Scurll versus Ryan Smile.
That was my favourite match since I've only started watching OTT since April, and that's by far and away my favourite match so far. So
the thing for me recently, and it's one of the matches I only watched recently, was a fatal 4-way involving those two at the Spiegel tent
with Mark Hastings and Tommy
exactly.
Ents. Yeah,
and it wasn't very long. It only lasted maybe less than 10 minutes. But just everything from start to finish, wasn't a single mistake in that match, not a slip foot, nothing. Absolutely, it's been absolutely a pleasure to watch these guys in the ring.
And when you consider that 3 of those guys were the main events and the Progress just gone, like they fought for their world title over there, like it goes to show how a privilege the match was to watch.
You look at those guys, and you look at Tommy Ends, and he's now gone to WWE.
Yeah,
and so many guys that have come to us and we've had on the shows have been gone to WWE. And even someone like an established guy, like a top established guy like Rhino, who is now tag team champions on SmackDown, and he's wrestled for us. So it's fantastic to see. But you look like Marty Scurll. He won the
Progress title.
Yeah. You look at him from a couple of years ago when he was doing kind of that tryout thing for TNA. She's like, oh God, no, that's awful. Yeah, and you see him as the villain. And there is no better villain than Marty Scurll. He's just been fantastic.
Yeah, he's still getting his shots with Ring of Honor now. He's wrestling for them now, so it's a big deal. You
look at, like I said, that 4-way, and then this month coming up, you're going to have Marty Scurll and Ryan Small for the third time. But the night Luther and Pete Dunne faced each other, and Luther won the belt, for me that was a special moment, especially for OTT. A fantastic match. As I say, growing up with Luther in the business and seeing how much he's progressed and how better he's gotten over the years, going from somebody who was as green as a hell to being somebody who was at the top level as anyone in the company and anyone that we get in the company. Yeah, it's fantastic to see.
Has great matches every night.
Absolutely.
Like when he gets in there. Finally, I must ask you now, so we've seen many scenarios over the years where authority figures fought each other in wrestling to get the better of each other, similar to your rivalry with William J. Humperdinck in OTT. If you were to make a dream match between any authority figures of any wrestling company, WWE included, who would it be and why?
It's such a
complex question. I
said to myself, who could I who could I pick to go against each other?
It can be any match you want as well.
You know, you've got Bischoff and McMahon, and she's like, no, that's been done. Like, there is only one for me, and it would be probably the biggest in the history of wrestling. It would have to be Vince McMahon versus Gerry Humperdink. It would have to be. That's who it would have to be.
Like,
the two biggest authority figures in the world. Forgetting about Bischoff and Stephanie and Shane and all those other GMs and authority figures that come before. It's got to be Gerry Humperdink versus Vince McMahon. Simple as that.
What would be the match?
Oh, God, it would have to be Ladder, Hell in a Cell, TLC, everything rolled into one.
Extremed into one.
Because it would be an absolute cluster, I can tell you.
There you
absolute cluster.
So, Over the Top Wrestling are going to be live next in the Spiegel tent in Wicklow Quayfront on the 15th of October 2016. Tickets are still available on Wexford Spiegel tent at ticketsolve.com. Gerry, thank you so much for coming in. It's been a pleasure having you in.
Thank you very much.
All the best and more. And we're going to hear more from you again over the weeks to come there with OTT. So we look forward to that. So thanks again for coming in.
Thank you.